Hello and welcome to another Redshirt podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Coming up on this week's episode, we will be talking about United's last-minute victory over the Hammers.
Come on.
We'll also be talking about King Ralph and how he wants the job at Old Trafford. Rashford comes back with the late winner and has his career come back. Also, we'll be reviewing, well, it's transfer window time. And we'll be talking about all the gossips and the ins and outs at Old Trafford. But first of all, Nigel,
Hey,
how are you
dude.
doing, man? This is a rarity. I think this is the first time we've done a podcast together where we've actually been unbeaten in 3 games. How does it feel, my friend?
It's feeling very good, isn't it? I like what's going on. I think we've turned the corner. I think we might have said that the last show. And you called it, didn't you? You called a 1-0 win.
I did.
I
said it was going to be tight, Nigel. I said it was going to be tight.
And it was super tight. Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's go to the game, Nigel. I mean, to be honest with you, it was one of those rare Saturdays where, because I was working, I couldn't get to the game. I was absolutely gutted. But, you know, you've always got the radio, haven't you? And I'm listening intently to the radio. You know, the nerves are going. I'm anxious. Every time West Ham attacking, it looks like they could score. You know, you're putting these visions in your mind. You're thinking, they're going to nick it. They're going to nick it. And then cometh the hour, cometh the man, Manchester's finest. Marcus Rashford puts one in the back of the net. And you know what? I hate to use a word that Ollie used to use, but it's in our DNA, isn't it, Nigel? Last minute winners.
Well, I was amazed to find out that he holds the record for the most clutch goals in the Premier League history. So in terms of that goal that he's scoring sort of last second of the game, he's done it more than everybody else, which is fantastic stat to find out. Well, if you're going to win a game, that's the way you want to win a game, don't you? It's a nightmare for us fans because we've got to suffer for 93 and a half minutes. But if you want to win a game, that's the way to win it. That's what being a United fan is all about. It's the roller coaster ride and the satisfaction at the end of a night where we kind of just leave. We're bouncing out of the stadium. So every time I watch the highlights and every time I watch like a YouTube clip of it, you still get the goosebumps, the goosebumps all over your body. It's just such an amazing goal, and to see the way they celebrate, Cavani was just amazing. And then the fact that we score the goal and then VAR looms its head, and then VAR says, yes, it's definitely a goal. It's like another goal, so we all celebrate again. So it's just,
well, it isn't it, Nigel? Because it's kind of funny because, you know, we all like a bit of VAR, you know, to bring us into a bit of excitement. And I mean, it's funny because, like, you know, all night, you know, you've got people, you know, all these experts that come out on social media with their own lines, their different, you know, angles on it. And at the end of the day, he was onside. It was conclusive. He was onside. And sometimes you just have to get, you know, you have to get over it. I mean, I think where the line was obviously where his arm was. Your arm can't be offside because you can't score with your arm. Not offside.
Well, it's funny because I think one of the pundits say, why don't they take an aerial shot as to whether someone's onside or not? Because that whole line, you don't even know if the line is actually drawn straight or not. It always looks a bit dodgy to me, that line that they try and draw across. Whereas if you're, you know, like at the end of a 100-meter race, they have the photo finishes on top of the runners, so you can clearly see if someone's who's actually won the race. And I think there's probably an argument for VAR improving, but in this case, I'm quite happy to accept the VAR's decision because it was a great winner.
Well, it was. I mean, it was an unbelievable winner. It was like United at the very best. You know, you look at, like, you know, all the forwards that were on the pitch. You know, you had Martial, you had Ronaldo, you had Cavani, you've got Rashford, and all of them contributed, you know, to that goal. And when you're looking at, like, I don't care, you know, there's been a lot of stories coming out about players being unhappy. But you could see that goal galvanized the squad, the way that they celebrated it.
Absolutely.
You know, absolutely, you know, like you said, Nigel. And then you saw, like, you know, the players running off. you know, and what it meant to him. Because the one thing, I don't know if you've looked at it, but the one thing that I've seen an improvement on is the fitness of players.
Definitely. Yeah, I've noticed that straight away. Everyone is, you know, clearly the extra training is now beginning to pay some dividends. I also think I noticed that the players might be buying into Ralph now. So they might have been a bit disgruntled about Ollie going. They might have just been disgruntled in general, but it just looks like we've turned a corner. And I think...
Well, it does, doesn't it? Because the other thing, Nigel, is you're going from 7th to 4th.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big leap, isn't it? Psychologically, you know, you're going from like, you know, 7th to 4th.
Correct.
And it's been strange because I think this run that we've had one defeat since Ralph's come here. And the thing is they haven't played well, but they've managed to get results. You know, they've put a little bit of a run together.
Yeah.
And you kind of think that if it clicks and the football then starts flowing, you know, because they are retaining the ball back quicker, there's a more of an aggression in the way that they're running the ball back, they're winning it higher up the pitch, you know. And it's like what you said, Nigel. It seems like, you know, we knew that it was going to take a couple of weeks. It wasn't going to change overnight because the fitness of the players had to improve, and it had to improve extremely, you know. And that's why you could see that they were getting these drubbings, you know, off teams that pressed high because they couldn't live with their running. Whereas now there seems to be a total, like, re-energized team. And for somebody like Rashford to get 2 goals in 2 games, it's what is needed, isn't it, Nigel?
Oh, exactly. It's exactly what he needs. More importantly, it's exactly what United need. And so, you know, happy Rashford it can only be a good thing for the team. Yeah, so I'm really happy. I've just got this feeling that this professor, Ralph, knows exactly what he's doing. And it's going to take some time to convince some of these skeptics, but I'm already signed up. I'm convinced he knows what he's doing. Now, I know we'll talk about it later. I'm not necessarily saying he should be the manager. I think we shouldn't get carried away like we did last time, but definitely positive signs.
They are. And like, I want to like bring us on to the fact of like Marcus Rashford, because I think like there's been a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of criticism of, especially the last year, of his development. Obviously, you know, we know that he's been carrying an injury basically for around 2 years. He's been playing through an injury. Hasn't really had, you know, with international football, he's never really had a rest. But you look at him now, Nigel, and you look at somebody that the goal that he got against Brentford seemed to change him. Now, I think as well, the very fact that Anthony Elanga's come in and basically said, look, son, you know, I can take your place. I'm working hard in training. The very fact that Ralph has identified that Rashford's out of form, needs probably a rest to refocus his mind. And it just looks like he's done him a world of good, doesn't it, Nigel?
So would you continue to bring him on as a sub, or do you think he's worthy of a start? Because let me hear what you say first.
Well, I think from what I can see, with like most really, really good managers and coaches, you get picked for your performances in training. Yeah. So if you're putting in the hard yards in training, then, you know, because you'll always hear managers say, you know, like after a post-match, you know, when they're getting, you know, like getting interviewed, they'll always say that, well, you know, he's really worked hard in training. He deserved his chance this week. Now, from what I've read, the reason why Anthony Elanga has actually got into the first 11 was the work that he was putting in training. You know, the whole 9 yards. And this was the problem with United's first 11. They weren't fit, were they? You know,
exactly.
They weren't fit. Whereas now, I think what's happened is Ralph's getting them there, because there is a lot of pace in United's team. There's a hell of a lot of pace. So I think, to be honest with you, it's really good management. He's basically taken Rashford out of the fold, so he's not being criticised, because he was getting criticised, you know, via the broadcasters in newspapers. Let him refocus, but then gave a chance to somebody that deserved it. And well, yeah, I mean, Anthony Elanga is one of our own, isn't he, Nigel?
He is, and he's coming good. You know, a cannon they produced. I love the fact that Ralph is not afraid to make those big decisions. So it's not like jobs for the boys. It's not like he's got his favourites. So you can see that, you know, if you can take Ronaldo off with 20 minutes to go, You know, that's a big statement. If you can drop Rashford and play Langer, that's a big statement. You know, he's not afraid to mix it up. He's not afraid to make those decisions. And his in-game management is obviously improving. He has to adjust to the British game. It's all positive. But just on the Rashford thing, I was so glad. I think he should stick with this for a while, because I think Rashford's benefiting from, you know, as legs are getting tired 2/3 of the way into the match, Rashford can come on with his pace and with his strength and can actually be the difference in some of these games, but he's proven that in the last 2 games. So I'd stick with this. I think I like the idea, you know, getting hungry again, getting passionate about winning that space back off Ilanga. That can only be a win-win for United. So he's really the professor, isn't he? I'm really
He is the
impressed with him.
professor. He is a really, 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 you know, good guy. And it's quite interesting, because that obviously brings us on. I mean, like, you're reading the paper today, and the reports are that King Ralph, you know, he doesn't want to go upstairs, does he, Nigel? He wants to reign supreme.
Well, I think, I mean, obviously, the way the stadium erupted when we won that game, I think things like that are so important, because I think people like Varane now understand. People like Cavani is finally, you know, Ollie said, Cavani, you've got to stay another year, because you've got to be here when you score a goal like that in the sort of 90th minute, to see what it's like at United. Because it's different. It's a unique experience to anywhere else in the world. And so even Ralph himself now has been there, clutch moment, and felt the whole stadium erupt. And it's intoxicating. United's intoxicating. So of course he wants the job. Why wouldn't you want the job? You've got the keys to the best job in the world in football. So it's like a drug, man. United's a drug.
It's an addiction, isn't it, Nigel? I love supreme.
Yeah, so we've lived this all our lives, so it's no surprise that, you know, this whole talk about come in, steady the ship and go upstairs. No, he doesn't want that. I mean, I'll be honest with you though, we can't get carried away. We've done this before.
Correct.
If the deal is stay to the end of the year and we'll have a conversation, then let's do that. Let's stay to the end of the year. Let him be hungry. Let him deliver something. And if he doesn't do it, then we've got to be big enough to say, well, we're going to go with whoever the original guy was. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because I think that with Ollie's appointment, you know, we basically did it on the back of, and it was a great win, a European comeback, especially with the amount of kids and inexperienced players that we played with.
Yeah.
You know, at PSG on that night. I mean, it was one of, you know, one of the great European comebacks. United have had a few, but we were kind of like then sort of like taken away. You know, everybody got on the Ollie's at the wheel, you know, campaign, and obviously ex-players did. You know, it was like, give him the job now. The problem is that once he got the job, the results to the end of the season that year totally tailed. I mean, you know, it culminated in a 2-1 home loss against Cardiff City at home, which was one of my worst experiences, you know, as a football supporting fan, was actually seeing United get beat. And then the thing is, what we've got to do is have a real blueprint of how we're going forward. You can see that Liverpool, City, you know, all the major teams around the world have got a blueprint of how they're going to play and how they're going to go forward. And I think United have got to put those plans in now, you know, which is really important, you know, really important, especially if we're going to go forward and we want to win trophies.
Oh, yeah, I'd say another thing though, Ver, I don't know what you think about this, but I mean, are you surprised by the lack of transfer activity? Because, you know, he comes in, he's obviously got the remit to steady the ship. And then you think, well, and we've been crying out for CDM for who knows how long. And even in this window, this was an opportunity just to get a CDM. It doesn't have to be the one that we want. You know, there's a lot of players around there for very cheap at the moment. But we do need a CDM to take us through to the rest of the season. It still hasn't got it. And that just makes me wonder about, you know, you'd hate for him to be somebody that doesn't complain. You know, you almost want somebody to spit a dummy out, or, you know, like a Mourinho-esque or Conte-esque that's going to accept the fact that we're just going to meander and hopefully get 4th place, as opposed to do some business now to guarantee 4th place. What do you think about that?
I think it's quite interesting, because I think that the the actual, the word that's coming out of Old Trafford is that they're looking to do business, but the CDM that they want, I think they've got the target of who they want. Now, what the club are saying is that CDM they feel won't become available until the summer.
Yeah.
Now, it was quite interesting on Saturday, post-match, hearing Declan Rice's comments, because it was almost as if he'd passed his audition there, Nigel.
Yeah, exactly.
He was using words like, "This is my favorite ground. I love working, playing here. This is, they were like quotes that were attributed like that, weren't they?" And
like subtle.
Yeah, that sort of hint of, and the actual sort of like last season, United had made contact with West Ham about Declan Rice, and they were basically told it was a non-starter.
Yeah.
Declan Rice has started to run down his contract, with the Hammers, and is, I think he's open to leaving. Now, you don't know if that's going to be for Old Trafford. You don't know if that's going to be for Chelsea, but I think that he sees himself, playing on a big stage. I mean, like, let's be honest with you. The way that West Ham have recreated themselves as a club. I mean, they're getting 60,000 fans in a week for their home games. So, in the next like 5 or 10 years, they could be one of the best supported teams in the land. On average, on average attendances. That means, though, that to attract the best players, they're going to have to be in Europe. Now, for me, I think that from what the club has said, that they're looking to maybe do a lot of business for a big CDM in the summer, and they don't think he can get him through the line. I think like what they're doing at the moment is concentrating on getting players out of the door.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, we've seen a few go already, haven't we? I believe as at the time we're speaking now, I believe what's his name again? Ahmad is off to Rangers. So if that's true, I think that's a great move.
Well, it is a good move because you're playing you're playing for Rangers, and we know that it's not competitive every week, but you're going to be playing in front of full houses, and also I think there's the chance of European football.
Well, yeah, they're still in the Europa League, aren't they?
Yeah. So from that point of view, and also the pressure of having to win games each week, because that's the scrutiny that Rangers are actually under, aren't they? They have to win games every week. I think the interesting news for me was obviously Anthony Martial. I think they'd obviously, after the rumblings of the other week, I think his position became that he was going to leave, wasn't he, Nigel? He was kind of forced in the door for the move.
I'm glad he played well for us, and of course he changed everybody's mind, didn't he? You feel cat him on the pigeon with that performance, but I think it's the right thing. I think we still have Ronaldo, we still have Cavani, we've got the two wingers that really need to bed in, Ilanga and
Sancho.
Thank you, Vernon. So I just think, just to kind of get rid of all the mutterings and the moaning and the negative vibes, not suggesting that that's him, but I can totally understand that he will be a little bit miffed if he's still a bit of a player. So it kind of gives him a break, gives us a break. So, I think that's a great move.
I think the actual agreement is that he goes there, doesn't he? I don't think there's going to be, a transfer at the end of it. I think obviously they're.
Hello, Vern.
That I wanted to talk about was obviously it looks like Donny van der Beek's going to go. It looks like Crystal Palace are interested in him. Now, to me, I think like Donny's got to go because he's got to play football.
He's got to go.
I don't think he's going to get the game time at Old Trafford. I mean, you look over the last few weeks, he's got no game time whatsoever.
Yep, he's got to go. We've said this before, haven't we? If you're not going to get a chance under Ralph, then I think that says it all. Because Ralph if it's one thing Ralph is, it's fair. And obviously, he clearly can't be taking his opportunities because it makes no sense as to why he's not getting into that first team. Ralph is quite clear. He wants physicality. He wants us to be combative. He wants us to be fitter and to be more and to press more than the other team. So those are the attributes. And if he's not demonstrating that in training, that's the reason why he's not getting a game, because if he was, he'd be getting a game.
Correct. The stories, you know, and also a little bit of the information that I'm getting out of Old Trafford is that when it comes to, he's not physical enough in training. The coaches don't think he's physical enough for the Premier League, because that's what it is. It's a physical, strong league. Now, he has bulked up, but they still don't think he's ready. So it'll be interesting to, I think a loan move is, because you're just wasting away. He's not getting any game time.
No.
You know, when United's form hasn't been the greatest, he's still not got in. It's under two managers, he hasn't got any game time. So to me, there has to be a serious key. You know, there's a key there that both managers and the coaching teams have come up with the idea that, you know, they're just not ready.
Yeah. Agreed.
So so Nigel, that brings us to an end to this week's Redshirt podcast. There's no fixture this week.
No fixtures.
You know, obviously there's been an international break, and a lot of people, you know, don't like international breaks because obviously, you know, it kills their weekend of watching Premier League football.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another time.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, I suppose by the time we reconvene, he's probably back by the time we get back.
I think he'll be there. It'll be interesting because we reconvene a week on Friday. It's Middlesbrough in the FA Cup. It's on a Friday night. It's live on ITV. So all you guys that are not subscribing to any sort of like satellite channels, don't worry. It's on terrestrial TV. You know, so you can watch it, which is, to be honest with you, it's the right thing to do. National competitions, you know, at least I think personally, I don't know about you, Nigel, but I know in Spain, they have an agreement where one game of La Liga a week is shown on national television. I think that's a great idea, you know?
Well, I mean, I'd go further. I think we were I believe we were very fortunate as kids growing up, because you had boxing on TV, you had football on TV, you had golf on TV, you had cricket on TV, all the tests, actually you had everything. So we grew up with sport. And, you know, if you're unlucky enough not to have the money to be subscribing to all these different platforms, you're just missing out on so much.
And it's expensive.
Yes, it's expensive, make no mistake. So, you know, any initiative like that gets it on terrestrial TV, it's just got to be a good thing.
Exactly, and it's on a Friday night, so you know, guys, you can have your chippy tea or whatever, and you can, you know, sit and watch it.
You can have your chippy tea.
You know, your chips and gravy. You know, watch it with, you know, having your chips and gravy and stuff like that, because you know us, Nigel, Northern lads. Ooh,
what's your speciality from Mr. Lee? What do you have?
Me, it all depends, but usually I like chips and curry, Nigel.
Chips and curry with what? Just chips and curry?
Yeah. So sometimes, do you know what I do, Nigel? Because, you know, obviously, you know, I'm a bit of a big lad. I do like a scallop to eat on the way home. You know, in the car.
So cheeky, a cheeky scallop on the way home. Man after my own heart. Yeah, I know that. Same thing, man. It's a scallop on the way home, and then it's normally a cheese and onion pie, chips and curry.
Okay, so guys, when you know, so that anybody that knows this place, is the Chippy on Henrietta Street, the Hong Kong Chippy, used to be called Mr. Lee's. If you live in Old Trafford, if you don't know this place, then you don't know Old Trafford, do you, Nigel?
Correct.
Anyway, guys. You know, I'll be after I've plugged you. Yeah, I'll be there for me tea in a bit. So, so anyway, Nigel, that brings an end to this week's Redshirt podcast. Obviously, it was a pleasure talking to you. All you guys that are, you know, looking for a Premier League fix this weekend, watch the African Cup of Nations. Sit and watch that. It's on BBC. Yeah, and it's on Sky. So sit and watch that. And also, I would like to say, you know, coming from a football point of view, our condolences go out to all the families that were involved and anybody that was hurt or lost their lives, obviously, at the African Cup of Nations in Cameroon, the stadium disasters. You know, nobody should go out anywhere and not come home. So,
well said,
guys. You know, you know, we love football, but sometimes there is more important things in than football. So, our condolences go out to the family.
Well said,
and, you know,
exactly.
You know, but Nigel, we get to that time of day where it's love football, be safe, and
keep that red flag flying. It's going well.
See you later.
Take care. See you later.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.